back at the Capitol, and I decided I couldn't spend the day without stopping by here and telling all of you congratulations. There are a lot of familiar faces in this crowd, and they are faces I know to be good people who understand that if we are to continue with our democracy, we need to hold steadfast those fundamental principles that say that each and every one of us as citizens deserves to have our voices heard. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart that I appreciate all that you are doing to ensure that this government be one where indeed people and citizens matter and not just powerful special interests. So I thank all of you for the work that you are doing, for the kind of energy you bring to this sort of commitment, and it's a pleasure to be here with friends, so thank you very much.
Needless to say, it's really important to have an event like this, because what it does is gives us an opportunity to say that people ought to make a difference when it comes to government, that an informed citizenry, that a citizenry that's listened to by government officials is important to this foundation of this democracy. What you see here today is a variety of people, everyone from libertarians to Green Party candidates, Democrats and Republicans alike, all coming together to say that clean, open government, a government that is based on what citizens want and not what special interests wants, is a priority for all of us, no matter what our political views are.
And what do you think are some of the worst things this government has done?
Well, I think one of our biggest concerns is just to have public access to government, and the notion that citizens do have a right to know what's happening. And I think that's one of the common threads that brings everybody together today.
Well, I'm very concerned about our health insurance situation, health care in general, abuse of the system, and ripping off the people for big business interests and other business interests, and about campaign finance reform has to be accomplished, I think, most importantly, campaign finance reform, total public financing of elections.
And what are your views on this administration?
Well, it is terrible that Bush is a killer and participates with others of his ilk in the early death and impoverishment of millions of Americans, and I think probably exceeds in his effects the bad work of Saddam Hussein.
Now, what are you doing, Mike? Miles, excuse me.
Sir, what brought you here today to this event?
I was asked by Mike McCabe from the Democracy to come down and speak. I ran for governor in 2002, and I thought that he thought that I'm chairman of the Libertarian Party, and he thought that our point of view should be heard also. So I was very appreciative of this chance to come down and join any type of movement that I think that can go against this incredible corruption that's going on in Madison at our State House. I think has to be brought to attention, and I'm thankful for this opportunity.
Now, on a national level, do you think that there was fraud in the election?
I don't know if there was or not. I didn't give it much thought. It was over and I got past it. I'm really interested in what's happening in Madison and in Monroe County.
What are some of the things that need to be changed in Wisconsin?
Well, the election laws are a sham. The 6% for third parties, there's no way they can attain it, and so there's no way they can get public financing. The medical marijuana laws has to be addressed. The preferential voting, I think, is long overdue. People should have an opportunity to vote their hopes instead of their fears.
2% of the abortions that are good abortions. I mean, the ones that are for the mother's health, and therefore we're killing 98% of the babies that are being. You don't want babies? Don't do it. But that has something to do with it. Now, the war in Iraq, you know that's biblical. And we're going to get out of that, and we're going to lose our skins. That's biblical, too. We'll be chased out of there no matter what. And that's worried me. And I stand behind Israel, because we are Israel, according to biblical. And basically, that's what I believe in, mostly in that part. Other than that, one president is as good as another president. It's just except the certain things I believe in.
About it, in other words, I think we're on the slippery slope toward fascism, in my opinion.
I do too. I feel we are in a neo-fascist situation.
People don't recognize it yet, but we could be just where Germany was in 1935.
The party that's theoretically against the war couldn't come out and say so.
Well,
Yet they,
you know, the Democrats and the Republicans from their running before the war. The Constitutional, the Libertarian, the Greens, any other party you can name. All the third parties were against the war. Sometimes on different grounds, but still against the war. And here you have the Democrats and Republicans, but you're only, if you're, and then there's another issue of elected. What does it mean to get elected if you don't stand for anything? So, yeah, maybe if they'd run a little to the left, they would have gotten elected. If they did anyway, they didn't stand
I think there's also a common theme, at least inside, that I'm sympathetic with, that there's a system that's broken, and it's not just about individual issues and collecting them all under one big umbrella, but there's a focus on reforming the system so that we can actually address those issues without the corrupting influences of big money and military contractors buying off politicians, and then they start wars and have military contracts, etc.
Probably 99% of the Iraqi people say, no, we do not want U.S. military bases in our country. And yet they're building 14 permanent bases there. They're going to stay there well past the new government, and when U.S. troops finally leave, which probably at the rate I think they're going will not be for at least 6 or 7 years unless we're able to build an anti-war movement to demand that be brought home. So.
Commodity that's bought and sold, and inevitably those with the largest checkbooks, the largest bank accounts, get to do all the talking. We have commercialized the First Amendment, thanks to Buckley versus Vallejo. We now have a ruling that steps away from that doctrine, that money is speech doctrine, and has said it is permissible under the Constitution to place limits. And the kinds of campaign finance reforms that I hope we can all rally around are constitutional. It doesn't require a constitutional amendment to say that corporations cannot give unlimited donations to political campaigns. In fact, it's constitutional to say corporations cannot give one red cent.
Well, what we want to do is start building a grassroots movement to take back our government and reclaim our democracy. And what we wanted to do is bring together a multi-partisan citizen assembly. Libertarians, Greens, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, people who just are alienated from the political process, and give them an opportunity to have a voice, and then give them an opportunity to become part of a movement that can restore democracy and get us back to the point where citizens can have a voice at the state capitol, regardless of what issues that they're most concerned about, whether it's environment or healthcare or education or the economy. If they don't have a voice at the capitol, the public interest is not going to be served on any of those issues. And I think that's what people were able to rally around, is the idea that what we've all got in common, even though we may come from different political parties, or have different political affiliations, even though we might be working on a whole host of different issues, the one thing we've got in common is that we need a democracy. We need a place in state government where citizens' voices matter. And I think that's what people were willing to rally around, and I think that's where we start. And then we're going to build on this and have future people's legislatures and future activities and really work at building a movement. I think we got a good start.